Welcome to Guitar Journeys. And this episode, I'll be interviewing myself. The intent of this is to have people on the program that would like to talk about their guitar journey, where they started, how they started, their experiences along the way, where they are now. My hope is to get people on here to share their story. And by doing so, the community expands. You can see yourself in other people's experiences and get into more storytelling and, again, shared experiences. First episode is going to be just me, and I have other people that will be appearing on over time. If you would like to be part of this, comment below. I can send you my information, or I'll put information up on screen or in the description of the video. So the first question is, how did you become interested in guitar? For me, I became interested in guitar through rock music, the radio, different TV shows when I was growing up through the 70s. The TV shows were kind of the thing where I got to see players, and then I went away to I think it was a school trip, and the people who were part of the school trip played guitar. So they would sing all these folk songs of the day and these popular songs of the day, and I used to watch the guitar player and was kind of amazed by the guitar playing, and my experience on guitar came much later. I actually started with drums, and then I went to saxophone and played saxophone for a while. And then I discovered bands like Kiss, and I thought to myself, I can't play, Love Gun on the saxophone. It sounds kind of stupid. So, and I didn't know about jazz, even though my neighbor in my neighborhood where I grew up gave me Saxophone Colossus by Sonny Rollins. And I started checking that out because I used to practice my saxophone outside on the deck of our house, so people in the neighborhood would hear me play saxophone. So my next door neighbor got the inclination to give me his album that he didn't really listen to very much to borrow. Guitar came much later, and there was a time where you could buy instruments through department stores. Sears and JCPenney and stores like that used to have these thick catalogs you can go through, and there was a music instrument section in there. And I would marvel at the drum sets and how big they were, and I wanted to get a drum set, but it was well out of my range. I couldn't even afford it, or my parents could afford it. So I got these paper drum sets from the toy store. So which I used to take my Tonka truck and run through the bass drum. So by the third kit of me doing that, my parents were like, "No, you buy your own drum set now." So that kind of ended my drum thing temporarily, and guitar seemed a little more interesting because you could actually get your guitar also from the department store. So we got two guitars. One was like a sort of a red type of finish, small 3/4 size guitar, and one was like about a half size guitar. Two guitars of different colors. One was kind of red. One was like a natural wood finish, and that's the guitar that I think it was my sister at the time. She was poking around on it, and I was doing the smaller guitar, which was the red one. So eventually, the interest waned on that, and I was playing with both guitars. And then I discovered a friend on the school bus who was selling his guitar. It was a Memphis, and it came with a little small sort of battery-powered amplifier, so you could actually have a clip on it. You could put it on your belt or just carry it around in the guitar case. So I bought the whole thing for I think $25 or something at the time on the school bus. So I got the money and I gave it to him. I was playing with that for a while, trying to make some noise on it, really kind of get into learning something on it, to do something with the guitar. I didn't really know much about it, how to tune it, etc. And that brings the answer to the next question. Are you self-taught, or did you take lessons? So when I was playing with this Memphis guitar, I was just learning how to play by ear, and I think I just had learned how to tune the guitar somehow, and I didn't realize that there were so many different tunings. So a lot of the music I was trying to play, I couldn't make heads or tails out of that at all because I didn't know much about the instrument and how you can retune your guitar. So eventually I got to the point where I was frustrated, and I went to the local music store. It was called Downbeat Music, in this little strip mall type thing. They had their own store for a little while separate from the mall, and then eventually they moved into the mall and opened up, and I took lessons there with a guy named Dave. And at the time I was getting really into rock and metal, and Ryan James Dio was a big band for me. I used to cut out pictures out of the magazines like Hit Parader and Circus Magazine, Metal Edge, magazines like that, and put all the posters up on the wall. So I had all pictures of Vivian Campbell and Ryan James Dio, and then later on, as I spread out further, Dio wasn't my first band that I got into, but that's what got me into playing guitar. I think where I mentioned it in a lesson where I was asked what I was into, and I told my teacher Dave at the time that's who I'm into. He said, "Okay, here's some things you need to do to get into this style." So I learned how to tune the guitar. He tuned it for me because I didn't really know how to do it, and then he showed me open string tuning, which is you just play fifth fret on the lowest string, the low E string, and you tune to the open A string, and so on. So I learned how to do all that stuff. I didn't have a guitar tuner, so I would learn how to tune the guitar to itself, and then eventually, go into pitch type stuff. So being that I was self-taught, I didn't know a lot of the stuff until I took actual lessons with a teacher in the room, sitting across from each other and learning how to play this stuff. So for a long time, I was doing it by myself. So I developed my ear, even though I knew how to read music from playing the saxophone and playing the drums. And over time, I started to get more and more into reading music. So for a while, I was self-taught, and it really got me my ear in shape. And I think I already had the ear. So that was really how I started. I was self-taught, and I just kind of picked up on things that I saw around me playing rock music. I just found that that whole style was really built for guitar, but definitely heavy rock influences going on, and that changed things too. As I got more into playing guitar, my influences started to broaden out. That's the answer to that question. Next question is, what is your favorite guitar styles and or genre? I was really into rock and metal, pretty big, and I had cousins too that were. I had one cousin, my cousin John, who played guitar, and he had a JCM 800 half stack in his room, his bedroom. And I was like completely amazed by that, like I'd never seen like a half stack before. So that was like a thing. And he gave me little tablatures of like Van Halen riffs and Ozzy Osbourne riffs and things like that. And he didn't know how to read music, so he would just tab this stuff out from learning it by ear. And I would get it and go home and try to play it. And I couldn't make it out either. So I was really lost for a while. And this was before I took lessons. So I was doing it all by ear, and I was picking up a couple things, but I wasn't really picking up enough that made me happy. I was still very frustrated. So, but the rock style, the rock genre, all the different umbrella styles underneath that in different bands, that's really what gravitated me towards playing the guitar. So I would have to say, in terms of a genre or style, discovering Deep Purple and all the bands I was growing up on, Deep Purple, Queen, I mentioned Dio and then Black Sabbath. So a lot of these other bands, I started checking them out, and then seeing all the other bands that would offshoot from that, over time, like, oh wow, there's a lot of music here. And then you'd start discovering more and more players, the Ritchie Blackmores, Randy Rhoads, and it just goes on and on. It totally expands out. And then of course, these guys with Rush, that really kind of got me really big into, over time, getting into more progressive music styles, and then learning that those bands did other styles of music. Some of the metal bands I listened to were doing other styles of music outside of the bands they're in. So it was a really interesting education, learning about these different players from the styles I was into. So the rock music and the metal music that I was checking out, and reading about these things in the magazines I mentioned earlier, like Circus Magazine, Hit Parader, Metal Edge. I mean, just all these different magazines when I was coming up, you used to be able to read about, these different players, and they would mention their influences. So it was a whole circular world of like touchstones of checking out these different players. And then, back, of course, growing up, you had vinyl, you had cassettes, reading the liner notes to see who produced the albums, and then seeing like there's different producers that were producing the same bands. So it really kind of, this whole rock and metal genre really, I was really completely immersed in it. And then all the stuff off the radio was another thing too. You'd have the stations that would play, multiple styles of music. So, from like popular to rock, to metal. And then that started to evolve over time where I was gravitating towards different radio stations. So there's a lot of stuff that was going on through the genre that I was checking out that really broadened out my listening experiences as well. So, and that fed into what I want to do on guitar. So that was really pretty cool. And then this leads me to the next question. Have you realized your goals on the guitar? So the goals, I think, there's certain things that I've satisfied goal-wise, but I think as a player and having this perpetual interest in doing different things on the guitar, I haven't completely realized my goals. I've done some songwriting, I've done recitals, I've done shows with different bands, and I think it doesn't really quite wrap up. When it wraps up is when you can no longer move your fingers, I think. As long as you're able to play the instrument, you can keep going for as long as you want. And of course, we've seen history play out with different bands and players that continue on for multiple decades, like these guys. Rush had a 40-year career. So I think for me, speaking of myself, I definitely have some goals. I have a new record I'm actually writing right now in pre-production stage. So I'm refining a few things before I actually start to record so I can do the process really quick. So those are my immediate goals right now, is to continue writing songs and getting back into other styles of music like classical guitar. I play classical guitar. Again, that's one of the things from the rock and metal genre steered me into the classical world. One of the goals now is to get back into classical guitar. I don't play it as much as I used to, so I kind of miss it, and I do miss it. I do want to write and compose for the instrument too. Those are some of my goals. I'm doing this channel, which is a joy for me to do, and doing this particular segment is great because I get to see through other people what they want to do, and then there's that relatability factor, which I'm really pulling for this particular segment on this channel. So I got tons of goals, long story long, and I want to satisfy as many as I can, and that keeps me going. That's the great thing about guitar, is that it never really ends. So there is an element of work that goes into that. You have to put time in to the instrument to get a certain result out of it. There's not really too many shortcuts. Some might argue, that there are, but I always feel that fast cash is temporary. So when you put your time in and you learn certain things, especially if you're goal oriented. All right, so last question. It's a 5-question series. So the last question is, what keeps you playing guitar? So I think all the things I mentioned in terms of goals, that's what kind of keeps me playing the instrument, and I still enjoy playing it. And just the fact that the guitar is so mysterious, there's still a lot to learn from it, even though we play 7 notes and then 12 if you do all the chromatic notes. There's so much you can do on the instrument. That's the thing. It's like it's never really an instrument that you completely master. And I think that's true of other instruments too. For guitar, there's a certain dimension to it, and there's a certain sound. Depending on what you do on the instrument, like you can't retune a piano. You can prepare a piano, you can put stuff on the strings and make it sound different that way, but you can't really retune a whole piano by dropping the strings down or tightening the strings way up. Probably bust a lot of strings doing that. But guitar has that added dimension of like you can really readjust the entire thing and get a whole different sounding instrument out of it. Another goal too from the earlier question is writing a song in an altered tuning, a drop tuning, open chord tuning, things like that. I still haven't done that, and I want to write a piece or a song that uses a open tuning. So that's the kind of thing that keeps me playing guitar, is that added dimension of like the changes you can make to it. You can actually do different things with it, and again, make the sound different. And that's just acoustic guitar. I mean, electric guitar, you have all the different different things you can do with the instrument. I play electric guitar as well. I mean, my acoustic guitar is back behind me somewhere. So I do a lot on the acoustic guitar. You've seen this guitar show up on a lot of the videos on this channel. But I do also play electric guitar. So you'll see more and more of the electric guitar creep into this channel. And I have, a lot of rock music that I'm writing as well. That's what keeps me playing. It's like just the amount of things you can do on the guitar, getting more into recording electric guitar again. So that's something that keeps me playing for sure. I'm playing every day, not as many hours as I used to, but I still enjoy playing the guitar, and there's certain days where I don't play it, that I don't feel so hot about myself, and then I go back, then I start playing again, and immediately I start to feel better. So that's the thing too. It's like it's almost like I wouldn't say therapy, but it's something that it just makes you feel good to play, and then you're getting that immediate feedback from what you're doing. It keeps you right in there, and that's something that keeps me playing, because I still hear things now that I'm just learning how to play it from many, many years ago, that I feel like, oh, that's what that is? Okay, cool. That's some of the stuff that keeps me going, is the background I have, which, of course, is, playing guitar for many years, and then learning about music through going to music school. That's something that came from all my experiences of what I've gathered through the different styles of music I was in. And then deciding, hey, I want to become a teacher. I want to teach music to people, and I want to be a performer as well. So getting together with people that, were in the higher education system, and then those that would go out and perform concerts on weekends. They would do recitals. They would do all these different performance outlets. I was learning from performers and what they would go through as performers. And I didn't have to go to college to learn that. I could have just went to the local music store and studied with somebody who is in a band, and then they would go off and do a tour and be gone for 3 or 4 months at a time. So I had a different experience. And I don't take away any of those experiences, but those people, in the higher education system, with college, I learned from them, and that got me more into playing the instrument too. So there's a lot of different tiers of what keeps me playing guitar. It's the past experiences, it's who I studied with, it's my own goals, and that's what keeps me playing the instrument. I want to hear your story. And if you want to come on and share it, I'll put the email in the description below, and you can reach out to me, or you can simply comment underneath this video, and we'll get you on here. And you can share your guitar journey. So that's a wrap for this first, I guess it's a prelude, pilot episode of Guitar Journeys. I hope you found my experience interesting. Maybe it'll inspire you to reach out, and you can come on and we'll do it through Zoom, and we'll record it and I'll share it here. There's a lot of good things that can happen from this, and I'm really, really hoping that I get some people on here of any level. Doesn't matter what the level is. I just want to be able to kind of share this with everybody, and again, people seeing themselves through your own experiences and that community of playing the instrument, sharing that stuff. I think is really going to be a nice thing for yourself as a player, and other people can see that as well. So there you go, guys. Enjoy the journey. Have fun along the way. That's what the guitar is all about. It's about playing and having fun. So I hope you learned a few things from this. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.